this is Abby Duke, and this is my video feedback on Samuel's paper regarding Bush's address to the public after 9/11. So I'll just go over the things that were mentioned by Samuel in his paper, and then I'll also mention just a couple of things that I noticed that were in his speech that maybe Samuel didn't include in his paper. So the first thing that Samuel explains in his paper is the kairos portion of a rhetorical address like this. And Samuel really explains timing really well, and I think he really understands what that means, because he says that, if Bush addressed the nation the next day after 9/11, then he would have emotional influences, and plus it might seem like we're being too hasty, or we're not thinking about what to do next. We're just kind of reacting. And Samuel also says, well, if he waited too long, then maybe it won't really look like we have anything planned, or we're not going to do anything about it. So I think Samuel really understands that timing is when the speaker addresses the audience at an appropriate time. And I think he does. I think Bush does do this because they had to take some time. This is like a delicate subject to address the nation about, especially for what's going to come next. They can't just, whip it together and then be like, okay, here you go, we're going to war. So I think that he really understands that. And then he also mentions that kairos usually means there is a time of tension, and Samuel does mention that this is a time where the nation is in chaos. People are mourning, people are scared, people are going nuts. They want to know what we are going to do about this, and so the president has to address the nation in a time of tension. And Samuel does explain this really well. And then also in kairos, it also means that there's an opportunity for purpose for the audience. And Samuel says that this is declaring war, and that war is needed. And so I just mentioned that Samuel could go into detail and say why maybe war is needed, but he at least says that the opportunity of purpose is war. And I certainly agree with this, that war, our declaration of war, is the central idea behind this speech. And then Samuel also mentions the stasis theory, which is conjecture. So Bush, he does lay out the facts. He says, he does mention who attacked us. He mentions, why they attacked us. And he says, because they hate our lifestyle, they hate our freedoms. And basically that, they want to kill any ideas of a democracy like our nation provides for its public. So I think that Samuel explains that really well. And then also he could say that the meaning of this speech is war. He doesn't exactly say those words, that meaning of this is war, but he does kind of hint at it. And I agree with that. The meaning of this entire speech is that we're going to go to war after this attack. We have to retaliate in some way. And then quality, it's the seriousness. And so Samuel says, well, we've never been attacked like this before. and that's what Bush mentions. And Bush also mentions that never before have this many civilians been killed in an attack like this. And I would say also that he says that the Taliban, oppresses their own people, and they use murder as power. And so, it's a threat to everyone. So he's making it really serious. And he also says that the terrorists kill not only to end a life, but to end a way of life. And so, he's making it sound really serious, that they're not trying just to kill people. It's to kill our whole way of life, our whole democracy. So Samuel does mention it, but I would just expand on that a little bit. And then the procedure part, the plan of action, Samuel mentions that Bush lays out 6 demands. But also, going back to war, our plan of action is going to war. He basically says the Taliban needs to be stopped, and we're the ones that are going to do it. He doesn't really go into details step by step, but this is his declaration of war, and this is the procedure. This is the plan of action. So Samuel does mention that, and I certainly agree with him there. And then the last part, Samuel says that this is a speech of renewal, and I certainly would have to agree with this. It's basically saying, Samuel says, that the president says you're going to make us proud, and there's many victories to come, and like I said earlier, we are going to stop the Taliban. They need to be stopped, and we're the ones that are going to do it because, we have to rise above it, and this is the way we are going to renew life for other people as well as ourselves. And then just some things that I noticed that were in his speech was transcendence, like back when Bush says we have to join together in a great cause, and also that that the terrorists end a way of life. He is using transcendence. He's making the issue bigger than ourselves, to kind of convince the audience that war is necessary, and he wants the audience to support this war, and so he's using transcendence there. And then he also realizes that war is going to be a constraint, and so I believe he frames the war as being, we're going to be victorious, you are going to make us proud. So he's using all of these delicate words and kind of making it sound like, you're doing something for the greater good, because, he needs that support. So those were just a couple of things that I noticed that were in there, transcendence and constraints, that Samuel didn't mention, but could have mentioned. But all in all, I believe that Samuel really understood and really applied the concepts accurately. So I just want to say thank you for letting me read your paper, and that's all I have for you. Thank you so much.